8:30, we'll call the Sawyer County Finance Committee meeting to order. Let the record indicate we have a quorum. Certified compliance with open meeting law has been done. We have the meeting agenda in front of us. Is there any changes to the agenda? So the agenda is presented. Next item is pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 6 is the Finance Committee meeting minutes from November 5th.
I will approve them.
I'll second that motion by Mr. Duffy, second by Mr. Kinsley to second approve the minutes. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, COVID-19 revenues tracking report.
Yep. So this is the report we've been tracking each month since the COVID situation. Some of the accounts are looking good. Sales tax is looking good for Sawyer County so far, year to date. Some of the accounts are struggling a little bit. Interest on investments being one of them. But overall, and I think we'll see a little later on some of the reports, the general fund is doing all right this year. So, unless there's questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Mike, I've got a couple of questions about the clerk of court, the criminal justice and health and human services, and the 2 agent accounts. Why are they running so much below budget? Do you know?
Yeah, I have some idea on some of them. Criminal justice, we have not had a person in that position since July, I believe. So there's no activity going on in that particular department. Ambulance, I think you said was one of them.
Right.
Ambulance is a difficult one to get a hold of, but we started out early in the year with COVID. Some of their runs were down. So the revenue has been down a little bit almost all year. Then it was starting to kind of recover a little bit, but now the last 2 months, and especially in November, the collections went way down. A year ago, in November, they were like 154,000. This November, they're 94,000. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. Tom Nate doesn't have
Yeah, Nate talks a little bit about that in public safety, and with the year that we had, a lot of the transfers are down because people can't get into other hospitals with the COVID situation. So there's not the transfers as there used to be. There's still the volume of 911 calls, and then obviously the transfers are where we pick up a little bit more revenue than the 911 calls. So that's, I think, what's hurt us throughout 2020.
Mike, do you have any comments about the agent of the state accounts were down?
Yeah, so the water testing is down, and I have not spoken with them. I don't know the reason for it. I don't know if it's just the first year or two out of the gates, if everybody was coming in. Maybe COVID's impacting them too. I know that those 2 employees have been helping on the human services side with COVID, contact tracing kind of stuff or whatever they do.
Yeah.
So that probably has some impact on their department collections.
So should we be raising rates?
Well, that particular budget, and we're going to look at it. Well, actually, I guess I didn't bring the detail of that. That particular budget is a contract we have with the state, at least the sanitation side, where we try to operate that budget on a break-even basis. So we do monitor it each year, what was the outcome for the year? Should we increase rates or not? I think we just increased rates at the beginning of 2020.
Yes, we did in anticipation of the state increasing their portion. So I think we've got a bigger margin right now. I don't think the state has raised their portion that we need to give them, but
Right.
yeah, so we did raise them recently.
Now, overall, the sanitation budget for 2020 is looking good. But, you know, a lot of that is because those two employees were being charged to human services budgets early in the year. So right now their budget looks good overall, even with collections down a little bit.
Okay, Mike, this is probably an unfair question, but it looks like you're projecting sales tax income to be over budget. Any idea why? I mean, we had dire predictions about sales tax income at the start of COVID.
Well, I think Sawyer County is in a good position. Our sales tax overall collections this year is up maybe 8 to 10%. But I don't think that's necessarily true statewide. I think there's lots of counties statewide that are maybe down 8 or 10%. So Sawyer County is holding strong.
Yeah, I did look at, on the state DOR website, they do have, this, data and charts and graphs that people can kind of dig in a little bit more on sales tax, not only statewide, but also by sector. And it looks like in Sawyer County, everything is kind of holding its own. Retail sales was, I think, the driver that increased our sales tax a lot. And I think part of it is a lot of people maybe shopping online, and we're picking up that now, sales tax on those online sales. The lodging sector, I think, was down a bit. But the retail sales, I think, was the real driver in making our sales tax hold its own. But if you go on the DOR website, you can kind of dig into a little bit more on that if you've got further questions.
Do you mind if we have Mike do that now and show him how easy it is to get to? Because you can do it on the screen here, right?
Oh, sure.
So if you just do a Google search on,
Mike, could you get closer to the speaker, please?
which Mike? Me?
You, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Mike Keefe.
Yeah, Wisconsin Department of Revenue. So just up in the search on interactive reports. Click into that first one. On the right there are the reports. Go down to the sales tax by industry. And then click the far right box, down. See where it says graph sectors by county. And then if you scroll, you scroll to the right, you can choose which county you want to see. I can't see it because it's off the screen.
Yeah, he did change to Sawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Sawyer.
And then you can choose which sector you want to follow. So you've got 2 sectors there, but you can open that up and click the all box. And again, you can't hardly see the legend here. You see it better on the ones on the side, but it shows you the different legends. And I think that red one is retail sales, like Tom was saying. So there's a lot of information.
What is that, Little Key? Turkey?
You can scroll down a little bit and see the legend on the bottom there.
So you can see the ones that are kind of flat, the ones that are up and down, increasing and decreasing.
Like, how about our real estate taxes? How are they?
Well, I know earlier in the year, we were doing some cash projections, real estate collections, cash asking,
Yeah.
were good, but that's That was like back in August, we were talking to Diane. I have not heard since then, I guess. I don't know.
There's a lot of transactions in the southern part of the county, unbelievable. And houses
The
are
sales, no values are up significantly, I believe. The sales. All right, any other questions, Bruce?
Not for me.
Diana's on now. Diana's on.
All right, should we move on to the,
Yeah. Number 8, grant update.
all right, so I put in your packets a summary of the Routes to Recovery grant, which is part of the CARES COVID program. We had, when this first became available, we didn't really know for sure what was going to be eligible for reimbursement or not. So we directed departments to anything you do COVID related, we're going to track it with the project code that we use, knowing that we'd have to come back later and determine what's eligible for reimbursement and what's not. So this top section by department summarizes what the different departments were charging towards the Routes to Recovery. So there's almost $350,000 in expense that we track. Now, as it turns out, a lot of that is not eligible for reimbursement. My time, Tom's time, a lot of the human services time you're seeing here, those are not eligible for reimbursement purposes. However, a lot of the ambulance crew, the EMT, their time is allowed. So when we ultimately applied for reimbursement, we submitted some expenses, PPE kind of expenses, and we just submitted a lot of the EMT time to maximize this grant. And we just, this week, as a matter of fact, received our Routes to Recovery grant from the state, $348,000. Now that includes Sawyer County's allocation, and we were able to get some allocation from some of the Sawyer County municipalities that did not use all of their allocations. We were able to receive some of that. So we received $348,000 for the Routes to Recovery grant. Just yesterday, I submitted with the DOT invoices for the airport grant. That's somewhere around $30,000. So hopefully in a month or so, we'll see that revenue. And then there's another $49,000 in the ambulance budget. We have to submit reimbursement in February. So we'll start looking at that particular grant next to see what we have for reimbursement expenses. And then I also included, Human Services gave me a summary of what they had for different COVID-related grants, what the award amount was and what they spent and what's still available or not. I'm not too familiar with these. I have not spoken with Patty about these yet, but she did provide this summary for us. So that's where we are right now with the CARES Act stuff.
So
Mike, we haven't booked these, have we, or not?
We haven't what?
Booked, have you booked these grants?
Well, I just got the revenue this week, so we have not put the revenue into the system yet.
Okay,
But these expenses are actual expenses that we've incurred and paid.
right. No, I understand.
So the expense side shows the actual expenses incurred. And I think, going back to the original COVID allocation that counties received, we were allocated, what, 270, 80,000?
Yep, 275.
275. So that was our allocation. So then we were able to get, as Mike said, about 70,000 from towns that didn't use their entire allocation. So about 350,000 is is what we could get reimbursed for, and should we be able to show eligible expenses. So as Mike said, we spent a lot of time and efforts on the COVID response, like all the time that I spent. Because my salary is budgeted already, then according to the rules, we couldn't get reimbursed for that time, even though I spent a majority of my time dealing with that issue. So under the rules that we were given, we made sure that we supply eligible expenses to make sure that we captured all of that expense. And then even more than that, so we actually reported more than our allocation, because according to the state and Wisconsin Counties Association advice, if there are other municipalities or other counties that don't use their entire allocation, rather than giving that COVID money back to the feds, they may reallocate that to counties and municipalities, if there's leftover money, rather than giving it back to the Fed. So we'll see if there's any other allocation before the end of the year. But that's a strategy that we use to make sure that we capture as much revenue as we could.
Well, good job, guys.
Yeah. It's a team effort.
Is there anything else you want to cover with the second part of that?
I have nothing more to add unless there's questions.
We'll move on to number 9, budget of organizations.
Yeah, so this is just a look at where we are. I ran some reports as of the end of October. It's kind of high level, but it's just something I look at just kind of see what the trends are for the year. I usually, when I look at this, I'm looking at how do we compare year-to-date expenditures to the annual budget. And I also like to look at, in this particular case, how do we look through October this year compared to through October the year prior. Looking for trends, ups and downs, just gives me an idea or a sense of how we're maybe going to come out at the end of the year. The 3 columns that I pay attention to on this particular report, the one that says amended budget, that's the annual amended budget for this year. Column that says year-to-date transactions, that's the actual activity. And then the far right column, it says prior year-to-date. If you go to page 2, usually the first thing I look at is the totals. Where are we in total this year compared to last year and compared to budget? So if I go to the very totals, I can see that through October, the general fund is running about a $75,000 deficit. How does that compare to a year ago? Well, a year ago at this time, our deficit was showing 700,000. It just gives me an idea, okay, we seem to be better off this year than last year. That's a good thing. Then I start looking at, well, why? What happened? What changed? But it gives me a sense of where we're going. Now, things are going to change. This isn't necessarily going to hold true at the end of the year. But it just gives me a sense of where we are, at any point in time.
So what'd you come up with why it's so different?
Well, lots of reasons. On the revenue side, sales tax is tracking better. Early in the year, timber was tracking better collections. We still need to collect about $225,000 of timber to meet budget. So I'm hoping we get that in December or early January. Expenses seem to be down. I think some of the spending is down this year because of COVID. People are traveling less, they're not going to conferences. Off the top of my head, Tom, can you think of anything big maybe that I think some of the legal fees are maybe down. Anyway, and I can provide more detail on that at another meeting. The next report is Human Services. I'm just looking at totals, total revenues, total expenses compared to last year at this time and budget. through October, Human Services is showing a deficit this year through October. Last year, they had an excess at that same point in time. Again, doesn't mean this is how we're going to end the year, but it does align with what they're telling us. COVID has impacted their operations some. Also, with the Winnebago Mendota situation, they've had more people in those facilities, and that's having an impact on the budget this year. So we're watching this pretty close.
Is there any movement on Mendota for funding?
Nothing on the near horizon. Two things going on there. I think we had two individuals there that, were the high dollar ones. And we were recently able to move one. We, being HHS staff and Carol Wand and her organization, were able to move one individual out into a less costly facility. So that's good news. That was recent. So hopefully in the next couple months that'll go down a bit. Yeah, on the bigger picture, we constantly talk to our state representatives about the issue that we have with this. And recently I've been talking with our Northern County administrators, our group of Northern County rural people that have the same issues that we do. And it seems to be a prevalent issue amongst all Northern counties. Our county administrators group had a statewide meeting specifically about what our legislative priorities are from Wisconsin County Administrators' perspective. And this topic came up throughout the state. We had that meeting, virtual meeting, last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, where we kind of talked with all county administrators, broke into our regions, discussed our top priorities, and then that information is being compiled for the purpose of showing WCA and our legal representatives there what our priorities are from the county administrative perspective. So I think this one will float to the top. What does that mean? It means we still hammer on our legislators and try and get some help on the funding side or something. But that's not a quick fix. It's the state doesn't realize the issue that it causes us, and even if they did, there's a lot of other issues, and who knows that what will become of that. But I think it is a major issue, and we'll keep hammering on it. But there's nothing that's going to happen in the short term.
Thank you. And it is important to keep talking about it. Maybe be hopeful thinking that they would do something eventually.
Yeah. And then the last report that I put in the packet is highway, just a summary again, comparing this year, just about breaking even as of October to last year. They had a deficit running, so highways running ahead of what they were a year ago. So again, hopefully that follows through throughout the rest of the year. But those are just kind of trends that I follow.
Any questions regarding that?
No?
Hearing none, we'll move on to number 10, supplement information.
I think it's just some sales tax reporting graphs that Diane provides.
Yes. Diane, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Is there anything you would like to point out to us, please?
No, I'm just happy that we're still making money.
Go ahead, sir.
Diane, how have the real estate collections been?
They've been fine. I don't have any actual figures in front of me. And of course, the 2020 tax bills are just going out, and that settlement money will be coming in January and February. So.
Okay.
Just following up on that, Diane, earlier in the year, there was that legislation that would allow us to delay payments or penalties, or I forget exactly what that bill was. But did we see a slowdown in collections, you know, with the COVID situation? I think earlier in the year, you said things were coming in fine. Did you see anything?
I think they continued. I didn't see any drastic increase in delinquencies.
Anybody else have questions for Diane? Hearing none, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Letter B, approval bank signature card effective January 4th for the new county clerk.
Is she just looking for a motion to?
Yeah, we need to forward that to the full board, and then it has to be in the minutes for the auditors.
Okay, I'll throw it.
So we're replacing Carol with Lynn.
Lynn, correct.
Okay, well, I'd make a motion to replace Carol with Lynn Fitch as a new county clerk.
I'll second it.
And that'll be effective January 4th, 2021.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
We have a motion by Mr. Duffy, second by Mr. Paulson, to approve the changes of both, that's on the full county board. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
You have a question? Yes.
I just have a question. So Diane, do the signatures have to go in New World check images?
Yes, I've already found that form that I was looking for, and Lynn has to sign it, and then we'll get it set up for accounts payable, and we have to get it to the Vantage Flex people too.
Okay.
Any other matters for discussion only?
Ron, Bruce, I'd like to thank you for taking over. You probably will have to do it again next month. My wife is very concerned, and I've got to honor that concern.
Absolutely fine. We all work together and get the job done what we need to do. Any other items? If not, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.